You know, when we talk about making AI better, we usually hear about building gigantic models, feeding them more and more data. But what if one of the next huge leaps forward comes from, well, a surprisingly small, really elegant change? That's what we're diving into today, a simple fix that's having a massive impact on how AI actually works.
All right, so here's our game plan. First, we're going to expose a hidden flaw in how AI pays attention. Then we'll check out the super simple fix that researchers came up with. We'll get into why it works so well using this idea of a spotlight, not a floodlight. After that, we'll look at the pretty staggering results they got from testing this thing. And finally, we'll talk about what this tiny tweak really means for the future of AI.
Okay, so to really get why this new idea is such a breakthrough, we first need to understand a problem that's been hiding inside some of our most powerful language models. And it all comes down to a single question. How do they pay attention?
I mean, think about it, right? When you're reading or having a conversation, your brain just knows which words matter. But how does an AI do that? How does it figure out what's important in a huge wall of text and what's just fluff?
Well, the magic behind this is a mechanism called scaled dot product attention, or SDPA for short. You can think of this as the engine that lets the model understand context. It's how it knows that when you say the word it, you're talking about the car you mentioned 2 sentences ago. Honestly, without this, language models would just be a jumble of words. It's absolutely fundamental.
But here's the crack in the system. Researchers started noticing this weird thing they call the attention sink. The model sometimes gets stuck, giving way too much importance to the very first words it sees. It's kind of like a person who keeps rereading the first word of a sentence over and over again, completely losing the meaning of the whole thing.
So if that's the problem, what's the solution? Well, a new research paper called Gated Attention for Large Language Models proposes a fix, and you'll see it is as simple as it is brilliant.
And what's really cool is how the researchers themselves talk about it. They say their central finding is that a simple modification consistently improves performance. They're not talking about a massive, complicated redesign. Nope, just a small, targeted tweak that worked wonders. And this slide just lays it all out, how beautifully simple it is. On the left, you've got the standard way it works. On the right, the new way. The only difference? They added one little thing right after the main attention step, a sigmoid gate. You can basically think of it as a smart dimmer switch. That's it. One tiny intelligent gate, and it changes everything.
Okay, so that's the big question, right? Why does just adding this one little gate have such a huge effect? Well, the paper digs into this, and it really comes down to 2 key reasons why it works so well.
The power of this gate comes from 2 concepts, non-linearity and sparsity. Now, I know those sound kind of technical, but they're the secret sauce here. They give the model a whole new level of flexibility and, more importantly, focus. Let's break them down.
First up, non-linearity. By adding this gate, the model gets way more flexible. Instead of a rigid, more of this always means more of that kind of response, it can now understand much more complex and subtle patterns in the data. It's like upgrading from a basic on-off light switch to a full-on dimmer dial. It gives the AI nuance, which is what language is all about.
The second reason is what's called sparsity, and this is maybe the real game changer. The gate forces the model to be selective. So instead of shining a giant floodlight on every single word, it acts like a spotlight. It learns to dim down the unimportant stuff and focus only on the words that really, truly matter. And that is what directly fixes that attention sink problem we talked about.
Of course, a great idea is one thing, but you gotta have the proof. So the researchers didn't just stop with the theory. They put this gated attention idea to the test in a huge, real-world experiment to see if it actually held up under pressure.
And when I say huge, I mean huge. They trained more than 30 different models on a dataset of 3.5 trillion tokens. A token is basically a piece of a word. To give you some perspective, the entire English Wikipedia is only about 3 billion tokens. So yeah, this was not a small lab test. This was a massive stress test.
And the results? They were just fantastic. It wasn't just a small bump. The gated attention models performed better across the board. They were also more stable to train, they could learn faster, and most importantly, they directly solved that pesky attention sink problem, which made them way better at understanding long, complex documents. So, a simple little gate makes AI models smarter, more stable, and more focused. What does this elegant solution really mean for the bigger picture? Where is all of this headed?
Well, here's the real takeaway. The future of AI isn't just a brute force race to see who can build the biggest model. This research is powerful proof that smarter, more elegant designs can unlock huge improvements all on their own. It's a fantastic argument for working smarter, not just harder.
And this matters for all of us, because it's a huge step towards creating AI that we can actually rely on. Whether it's for a chatbot helping you out or a tool helping scientists with complex research, we need models that don't lose focus. And this simple gate is a big move in exactly that direction.
All of this leaves us with one last, really exciting question. If one simple gate can do all this, what other elegant, simple fixes are just out there waiting to be found? It's a great reminder that sometimes the biggest breakthroughs really do come from the simplest ideas.